Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Stuart here from Spain Speaks with the Spain News Update. And Spain's Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez continues to throw the cash around, and the other day he announced another €100 million to help palliate the effects of the energy crisis. But more about that in just a moment. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel by buying merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your continuing support. Now, let's get into the news, and as I said, cash-happy Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sánchez continues to throw money around, and at the weekend he announced an additional €100 million to help vulnerable households in winter. The President of the government, Pedro Sánchez, has announced that the Council of Ministers will approve this Tuesday a royal decree law that will include an additional €100 million to help the 1.2 million vulnerable households in the country, given the arrival of winter and the increase in the price of electricity. The President pointed out that because Europe has its timeframes for taking measures, which the government respects, although it would like them to be shorter. In addition, this decree law is intended to help industries and companies to protect their contracts in the face of rising energy prices. So an additional €100 million to help vulnerable households get through the winter, because as we know, electricity prices in this country continue to rise. And as we saw in the article, the government deciding to act quickly because Europe has its time frames, and as we know, nothing gets done quickly in the European Union. Now, another crisis affecting the country at the moment is inflation. Those high electricity prices that I mentioned before are having a knock-on effect, especially when it comes to consumption, and the trade and hospitality sectors here in Spain are warning of a rise in prices at Christmas. It is not a friendly environment for consumption, they say. Widespread inflation with electricity bills that have been soaring for months and the rise in the cost of raw materials and transport may cast a shadow over a Christmas campaign that starts with Black Friday, the last weeks of November, and which is expected with optimism as it is the first without a state of alarm and without restrictions. Both the hotel and catering industry and commerce, two of the sectors most affected by the limitations derived from the pandemic, believe that it will be positive as there are savings accumulated during this time that have not been used, and this year there will be no restrictions in the shops, either in terms of opening hours or capacity. So not a friendly environment currently in Spain for consumption, but two of the main sectors involved in this Christmas campaign, the trade and hospitality industry, optimistic that people have money in their pockets and want to spend. So we'll keep an eye on this topic as we approach the festive season. Now, we saw last week that the health situation here in Spain in the majority of places around the country has improved. One autonomous community, Galicia, has put an end to health restrictions, but one part of Spain, the tourist magnet Benidorm, is still at extreme risk. As we can see here, Benidorm is at extreme risk of the spread of the coronavirus after the reactivation of British tourism. Benidorm has officially entered this Friday in a situation of extreme risk of spread of the coronavirus. According to the information provided by the Generalitat Valenciana, the town in Alicante has reached an incidence of 254 infected with coronavirus per 100,000 inhabitants. This rate is 6 times the average for Spain as a whole, which stands at 44.49 positive cases, according to the Ministry of Health. The escalation of the coronavirus in Benidorm to the point of reaching the extreme risk of spreading the pandemic coincides with the return of British tourists, who after the end of the UK restrictions on travel to Spain now represent 22% of the people who have visited the town in Alicante in the month of October and are consolidated as the main source market. The following positions are held by the Belgian market with 3.7%, the Dutch with 3.2%, and the Portuguese with 1%. So the rest of the country improving as far as the health crisis is concerned, but Benidorm, as we saw there, still in an extreme risk situation. And who's copping the blame? British tourists, because as we also saw in the text, the increase in cases in that part of Spain has coincided with the return of Brits to that holiday mecca. Now, COVID-19 booster shots are making headlines today. As we can see from this headline, third dose of COVID-19 vaccine. Who, how, and when should it be given? People over the age of 70 will start receiving the third dose of the COVID-19 vaccine from Monday the 25th of October. The booster jab is expected to reach almost 7 million citizens, an intervention that will be carried out simultaneously with the flu vaccination, whose main priority is also this age group. The first group to receive the third dose will be those over 70 years of age, provided that at least 6 months have passed since they received the second dose and completed the vaccination schedule. So there we go. If you're living in Spain and you're over 70 and more than 6 months have passed since your last COVID-19 vaccine, then you will most likely be called up shortly for a booster shot. Now, outgoing German President Angela Merkel recently visited Spain, and apparently she was surprised by just how many people are still wearing face masks outdoors. As we can see here, even Merkel is surprised. Why are so many Spaniards still wearing masks in the street? Even Angela Merkel is surprised. As President Pedro Sánchez said a little over a week ago, today the Chancellor was surprised by the use of the mask in Spain, he revealed in his interview on El Rojo Vivo on the 14th. And I told her that the use of the mask in Spain is not obligatory outside buildings or our homes, and yet people continue to wear it. The President then put forward the hypothesis. They continue to wear it because they are aware that the virus is still with us, that we are obviously overcoming this pandemic thanks to science, but that we cannot lower our guard. We don't know what Merkel replied, but it is possible that she was not too convinced by the answer. Does this imply that there is no awareness in Germany that the coronavirus is still present? Have they lowered their guard? So outdoor mask wearing still causing debate here in Spain. It caught Merkel's attention, and let's be honest, a lot of people are still wearing face masks everywhere they go outdoors in this country. Now let's have a look at a summary of the health situation in Spain. As we can see, the accumulated incidence rate is now sitting at 44.49. There are currently 1,730 COVID patients hospitalized around the country, and there are 435 COVID patients still in ICU. Now, there's been a lot of talk in recent times in British tabloids that British residents here in Spain are fleeing the country in droves. But is it true? And one press outlet here in Spain, The Local, is asking the question, is it true Britons are leaving Spain in droves, as UK tabloids claim? Reports have claimed thousands of Britons, particularly retirees, are leaving the popular destinations of the Costa Blanca and Costa del Sol because of Brexit complications. But is it really true? Has Brexit changed people's lives to such an extent that they're packing up and leaving? Are Brits selling up and returning to the UK? This would certainly buck a trend that has seen Brits flocking to Spain for decades. The great quality of life, sunny weather, slow pace of life and affordable house prices have helped make it a dream holiday home location for many Brits, with the latest Spanish government estimates suggesting 800,000 to 1 million Britons own a property in Spain. In addition to the holidaymakers, there are 381,488 Britons resident in Spain, according to Spain's migration agency. Andalusia, which includes Malaga and the Costa del Sol, is home to the largest number of Brits, which makes up almost 30% of the total. According to estate agents on the Costa Blanca and Costa del Sol that spoke to The Local, there has been no uptick in sales, something that would indicate an exodus. We haven't noticed an important effect one way or the other, Giselle from Bromley Estates Marbella explained. We haven't had a mass influx of people wanting to list their properties to sell. Another agent from Engelvoca Benidorm said the situation was similar on the Costa Blanca. There's not a lot of people from England selling their homes, she told The Local, adding that the situation was largely the same as before Brexit and COVID. So, fairly clear, according to those real estate agents on the Costa del Sol and the Costa Blanca, Britons are not leaving Spain in their droves. And it seems to be yet another example of how the tabloid press in the UK love to stir up trouble, and obviously trying to make a percentage of the population there feel good about some of the decisions that they have taken recently. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from previous videos. One here from Mirko. Ciao Stu, I really don't understand. A couple of years ago I've been for the first time on holiday in Barcelona, and I had access to a cannabis club in the city centre where anybody, once they got the membership, could buy and smoke vape weed legally. It was a regular business with the menus, tills, rules, but just exclusive for members. There were more than 20 shops like that in the city. I heard from a local there were also some in Madrid, and if you Google cannabis club on the map of some Spanish islands, they also pop up. I thought it was already legal in Spain, or maybe there are specific laws for some cities' islands. Yeah, Mirko, thanks for the comment, and you are correct. There are cannabis clubs here in Spain. There are some in Madrid, some in Barcelona, and no doubt some in other parts of the country, but marijuana or cannabis use is illegal in this country. So go figure, again, another example of the contradiction. I'm not exactly sure how these cannabis clubs operate, but there must be some type of loophole in the law which allows them to do so. So again, quite confusing when it comes to cannabis rules and regulations in this country. You can buy marijuana seeds, but you can't plant them. It's illegal to sell marijuana, but you can become a member of a private club and pick it up there. So if you're like me and you think that this all sounds completely crazy, bienvenidos al club. One here from Ken: glad I don't enjoy weed anymore. As a resident foreigner, I don't want to run afoul of the law. Drop down to €3 bottles of wine. Mistake. €4 and up. Way better. Life's sweet here. Yeah, Ken, thanks for the comment, and probably a good idea not to get in trouble with the law for smoking a joint. And when it comes to wine, I have to agree, difficult to find a good drop for €3 nowadays. You have to spend a little bit more, 4, 5, 6 or even more nowadays to find a good bottle of wine, in my opinion. One here from Mark: I love to use the toll roads as there is not much traffic and my journeys are quicker in Murcia. Yeah, Mark, thanks for the comment, and I saw a few other comments from people with a similar point of view to you. Better to use toll roads here in Spain because there's less traffic and you get to your destination quicker. And I think that is the purpose of toll roads, to get people to pay for a better driving experience. Why sit in a traffic jam on a free road when you can have a traffic-free experience on a pay road? Makes sense, but unfortunately a lot of Spaniards don't see it that way. In fact, a lot of people I know here prefer to suffer traffic than pay for roads. But as we know, in a couple of years people are not going to have much choice when the government starts to slap tolls on roads that are currently free. One here from Jesus: the toll tax system would be fine if the central government is also doing its best to reduce costs and our deficit. But no, more taxes, more spending, more deficit. That's how a country is destroyed year by year. Yeah, Jesus, thanks for the comment, and I've only got one thing to say: I couldn't agree with you more. One here from Daffodil: I'm curious about your pronunciation of Galicia. I am learning Spanish and was confused by that. I listened to several pronunciations online and there were several ways to say it. What is your reasoning for pronouncing it with a th? Yeah, Daffodil, thanks for the comment, and the reason I pronounce the word Galicia with a th sound is that Spanish is a phonetic language and the C is pronounced th when followed by an I. For example, Galicia, Andalucía, Valencia, Palencia, and here in Spain the majority of the country, except for Andalucía, Extremadura and the Canary Islands, pronounce Galicia with a th. And the reason you hear it pronounced with the C sound is that most likely the people pronouncing the word are from one of those areas that I just mentioned, or South America, where they also use C instead of th. So welcome to the Spanish language. One here from Jim: hi Stuart, I think toll roads will become more relevant over the years because of electric vehicles and the lack of tax revenue from petrol and diesel. Yeah, Jim, thanks for the comment and good point. What's going to happen to all of the tax that the government collects from petrol and diesel as we move into this electric car world? It's going to have to come from somewhere, so maybe sticking tolls on all the roads is the solution. However, from what I have heard about this new road pricing plan, because remember, they don't want it to be known as a toll system, people with electric vehicles are not going to be charged. Only people driving petrol and diesel vehicles will have to pay. So no doubt the government will change that system as more and more people buy electric vehicles. And finally, one here from Paul: congratulations, Melbourne, enjoy your freedom. Yeah, Paul, thanks for the comment, and I will reiterate your words. Melbourne, enjoy your freedom. As of last Thursday at 12 PM, the city of Melbourne came out of lockdown, one of the longest lockdowns, if not the longest lockdown in the world, I believe. And did this last lockdown stop COVID-19 from spreading, get the incidence rate down? No. On that note, I'll wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.